With the release of Alien Romulus, I wanted to take some time to analyze the movie in a way where we look at why it is as great as it is because it stuck to a formula that made the franchise so beloved. We are going to go through a lot of the aspects of this movie from a filmmaking perspective to show why it turned out the way it did for fans to have enjoyed it. Hello to any and all movie nerds and fans out there, welcome to Film Obsessed. If you are someone here who has been looking forward to this movie as a casual fan or as a general hardcore Alien franchise fan, let me know down below in the comments and give this video a like and subscribe. I'm trying to build a film community on this channel and I'd really appreciate your support as we run through the video. Without further ado, sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, and let's jump right into it. I have already mentioned this in my last video that I made where I went through explaining the ending of the movie that I really enjoyed it and it's one of my favorite films of the year so far, horror movie or just in general. It hits all the marks when it comes to giving you a great horror movie blockbuster experience. I truly mean it that this movie is an experience, which is what you would love to see all movies give you, especially when you can see it in a theater. Although, the main thing that I want to get across when talking about the movie in this video is that I felt so happy about seeing it follow a formula that the franchise is well known for. When you think back to what made the original two Alien movies so beloved and iconic in their status to this day, it's because they follow the formula that made them unique to their own stories. The original from Ridley Scott was born as a condensed, claustrophobic, and tension-filled horror film. Then we got James Cameron's film, which more so went down the path of sticking to the horror roots, but making it more of an action film along with that. I think what all the other movies failed to do up until Alien Romulus is that they tried to do too much, but also be used as movies in name to make money off a franchise that was very successful before them. Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, the AVP films, Prometheus, and Alien Covenant all failed to know what the formula was and remember what made it great. They relied too much on a bigger budget, spectacle, and overusage of CGI, and then more methodical and religious themes of storytelling. Don't get me wrong, I think some of those movies took big risky swings with that in mind that could easily have took the franchise in an interesting direction, namely with a film like Prometheus. Prometheus is arguably one of the more important, if not the most important films of the franchise because it gave us the exploration of the beginning of the xenomorph and how they were created. At the end of the day, the other films still turned into something that moved away from what made Alien so iconic. When you try to expand your franchise too much to the point where you go down a path of making it more than it needs to be, that is where you got with some of those movies. Here we are now with Alien Romulus, and I can tell you that we are officially back to knowing what that formula is that made this franchise as memorable as we know it is to this day. Alien Romulus takes that condensed, tension-filled feeling that you know from a film like the original and modifies it to a more modern look with the technology that we have today. Seriously, when I say that on a technical level, this movie marvels some of the better films that we have seen in recent years visually. I don't joke when I say that. At least when it comes to 2024, I'd say it's up there with a film like Doom 2. Both find a way to use visuals and cinematography so perfectly to the point where it's not overbearing, but it's used specifically in certain situations where it makes sense. Fede Alvarez, the director, has talked heavily about the fact that this was a process they included in making the movie. If something could be practical, it would be practical, and if something needed to be CGI, then that's where they would need to use CGI. So when it comes to the background shots and scenes that take place in space, that stuff is usually all CGI. With stuff like the xenomorphs, chestbursters, facehuggers, the inside of the space station, or when they are on the planet at the beginning of the movie, that all looks practical because they were made using real sets and animatronics. This movie has a great way of showing you that both practical and visual effects makes it look so much better, which is also probably why the movie has the budget that it has, at least specified as of right now, which is around $70 to $80 million. You compare that to a movie like Prometheus, which is $130 million in budget. I can imagine that a lot of that budget has to do with the visuals and how expansive it is in scale. So Romulus does a very good job to condense the budget and make it tight, especially when you look at the locations of where our characters go to. There are moments where it looks big, but it's not as big as you think, and then there are many scenes where it becomes smaller, but that's due to how the budget relies on telling you a story for the reason that it feels small in the first place. That is where we get with regards to our characters and what they have to go through. They are all stuck inside of the space station in what feels like a very cramped and desperate situation, knowing that they've got things trying to kill them anywhere they go. They are being hunted down by the aliens, and then they also have to get off the space station, which is about to crash into the rings of the planet it's orbiting. Again, when we bring up the conversation of the formula of the Alien franchise, I think that these characters were written very well from that perspective. They had no idea what they were walking into, and then when they finally meet the horrors that that they face, you start feeling for them a little bit more. I think what also helps is that the actors playing these characters are very unknown actors, especially to someone like me who follows this industry as much as I do. The only two that I know well enough based off name and stuff that I've seen them in is Cailee Spaeny and Isabela Merced. Even with that in mind, I think everyone else played their roles very well for the kinds of characters that they are. I believed their performances, and I believed their characters based off how they were written. It's no different than how you saw it with the original two films. Each one of those two crews had believable characters based off how the actors portrayed them and how they were written. I would also say that a lot of that has to do with the fact that they were very well directed by their directors, whether it's Ridley Scott, James Cameron, or here now with Fede Alvarez. Alvarez does a really good job to establish the world and its characters, but also arguably one of the best atmospheres in a film that I've seen in a long time. Everything about the way he crafts the production elements and directs the actors is really superb in every way. I really don't know if there was a better choice of director to get than him for this kind of film, especially when you look at his past work. He's also been open about how he played the video game Alien Isolation to take reference from, which I think is a really fun detail when knowing how the movie was created. He's a very passionate lover of the franchise too, and while that's not always necessary to have when making a film, I think it is important that you have someone who understands the franchise well enough that it helps in the process of making the movie. Even if Fede was not a fan of Alien, I'd still say that he was a perfect choice of director again when you look at the films that he's made with stuff like Don't Breathe or his Evil Dead remake. As an example, look at someone like Tony Gilroy, who is the showrunner and writer of the series Andor for Star Wars. He's open about how he's not a fan of Star Wars, but yet he still went and made one of the best single seasons of television ever created. It all comes down to what you are doing, and I think Fede really had a good hand on that. He understood what made the formula work with the original two, and he wanted to bring that back with Alien Romulus. So at the end of the day, what did we learn from this film analysis of Alien Romulus? We learned that sometimes all it takes is for you to understand that there is a formula to how to make things great, and with knowing what this franchise is known for, all it took was to go back to that formula and you get something truly awesome with Alien Romulus. It's like comparing it to food. When you add in an ingredient to a meal that was good before, but now it makes it taste like something different that you were not looking for, that's what you have gotten with the Alien franchise over many of its films. It took someone like Fede Alvarez and then a nudge towards Ridley Scott, who produced the film, to say that this is how we've got to bring this franchise back into the light. We've seen this recently with other classic science fiction properties like the Predator franchise with a movie like Prey or something like the Hellraiser movies. It is a good time to be a fan of these kinds of properties again, and so I'm just glad that Alien Romulus exists to push that narrative forward, that when you follow the original formula, you will make things great. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, my film analysis for Alien Romulus. Leave your comments down below about what you think about my commentary on the movie and what your thoughts were of the movie. If you want to see more moving forward from me on this channel with regards to film and you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and also subscribe if you are new here and turn on that notification bell to be updated for when I upload again. So yeah, that's a wrap, folks. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you all soon for the next video.